And we have three remaining bills, all by committee members. Mr. Cooley has two. Mr. Calderon has one. Why don't you go ahead, Mr. Calderon? I don't know. We need to hear from the whip, you know. Go ahead, Ian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. Today I'm here to present AB 332. Every day, more than 10,000 Americans are turning 65. In California, the number of citizens 65 or older is projected to increase to almost 9 million by 2030, or about 18% of the expected population. Currently, California does not have a sustainable option for seniors and people with cognitive or physical disabilities to obtain the affordable long-term care services that they need. Without alternatives for people to obtain long-term care, the aging middle class must decide whether to spend down their assets in order to qualify for Medi-Cal or exhaust their personal assets to pay for private care services. This is why I'm authoring this bill, which would create the Long-Term Care Insurance Task Force to provide recommendations to the insurance commissioner to come up with sustainable options for long-term care insurance. If we fail to act and don't provide our citizens with a reasonable alternative for affordable health care, then we fail our mothers, our fathers, our grandparents who are desperately looking for an option that they can afford. Thank you, and I respectfully ask for an aye vote. And with me today, I have Samantha Contreras with SEIU ULTCW, Ted Angelo with ACLIC, and Bonnie Burns with California Health Advocates.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Michael Bolden. I don't quite look like Samantha, but I am speaking on behalf of the United Long-Term Care Workers Union as well as Service Employees International Union, both co-sponsors of the bill. Assemblymember Calderon clearly laid out the premise of the bill, and with that, I will yield the remaining balance of my time to other supporters, and we just respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you,
sir. Thank you.
Bonnie Burns, California Health Advocates. We provide the training and the technical assistance to the HICAP programs. There's a HICAP in each of your jurisdictions. We do a lot of work around long-term care insurance. Shortly, this state is going to have 1/4 of its population in the 60 and older group. And the people moving into the aging process are not the same as their parents. They have fewer children. They're more likely to have been divorced. They will have fewer people to provide the caregiving to them that our parents have today. It's critical that we find a solution to funding this type of care. And I'd like to note that it does not replace family care. That family care is still there, but it will, if it's done correctly, allow adult children and adult caregivers to continue to work and still be able to provide some of the caregiving that they do currently. So we are very much in support of this bill. I've been working on this issue for 35 years. I hope that finally we are going to come up with some viable solutions for this type of care.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members, I'm Gary Passmore, representing the Congress of California Seniors. We're a senior advocacy organization statewide. Been around since 1978, just about the same amount of time that Bonnie Burns has been working on this issue. We're responsible for the demographic problem that you've got, or at least we're speaking out on it. And we think it's important for you to understand that we've gone from a situation with regard to people being uninsured for long-term services and supports to quickly approaching a crisis in this state. What Assemblymember Calderon's bill does is it encourages and it enables the state to begin analyzing this issue, bringing stakeholders together and trying to craft an appropriate solution for the state of California. If we chose, we are large enough with a large enough risk pool to create a state-level long-term care program, insurance program. But I think it's important before we took a step like that we look at the federal responsibility. Should we be looking at changes to Medicare? Do we need to tweak Medi-Cal? What's the individual responsibility? How much can we expect families to rearrange their lives and, say, a family member leave their employment in order to care for a family member? So it's a complex issue. It involves just about every stakeholder in the insurance industry, but also seniors, children of seniors, a lot of people, and it needs to be worked through. We need time to do that. And this bill enables that, and we strongly, strongly urge your aye vote.
Thank you, sir. We have two additional.
Mr. Chairman and members, Ted Angelo with the Association of California Life and Health Insurance Companies. We have a neutral position on the bill right now, but we're supportive of the bill moving forward, and we're working with the author. We want to have the study possibly expand its scope to look at exploring all options, not just a potential state-run program. There was a significant hearing yesterday on the Aging and Long-Term Care Joint Committees of both houses. They've been looking at this for a number of years. Obviously, the private market options that are there right now have a series of regulatory requirements, some barriers. We'd like to look at a lot of different options rather than just one limited scope. And again, we're supportive of working with this measure to do that. And we think it's something that they could look at, the existing taxation of private plans and expanding access in that way. So I'll limit my comments to that, but we're supportive of it moving forward with those, the expansion of those parameters.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chair and members. Jed Hampton with Leading Age California. We have no official position on the bill, but we're certainly supportive of the bill in concept. Our organization, which represents not-for-profit providers of senior affordable housing, assisted living, skilled nursing facilities, and home community-based services throughout the state, has really been on the forefront of this issue at the national level and most recently at the state level. We have had conversations with the author's office as well as the sponsors. We'd like to see a minor tweak to the bill, but we're certainly supportive of the concept of the bill in general, and we really look forward to working with the author's office and the sponsors moving forward.
Thank you. Are there any other folks here either in favor of the bill or against it who wish to speak? I see no one. Committee members, any questions or comments? Vice Chair Gaines.
Well, I agree. Long-term health care is super expensive, and something needs to be done. What prevents the insurance commissioner from acting on this right now as it is?
I don't think there's anything that necessarily prevents the insurance commissioner from acting upon this, but I also don't think that the insurance commissioner has the authority to necessarily act on this. It's sort of an interesting dynamic, and that was pretty much one of the premises of the bill and why we have, particularly working with CDI, the Department of Insurance, and the insurance commissioner and staff on the parameters of the bill. It's sort of an interesting dynamic, and I'm not sure whether that answers your question, but I just don't know either way whether he can or cannot act on this independently at this time.
If I might, Assemblymember Gaines, I would say, frankly, you're the elected official. You understand these things. We feel it's really important to have the legislature's imprimatur, if you will, or whatever the right word is, for you to be on record understanding that this is a challenge and encouraging the development of some appropriate solutions.
Right.
And just, we set up task force all the time for specific issues as a legislative body, and the point is to the legislature to take the stance of saying that this is absolutely a priority, and we want these groups to come together to make sure we find a solution specific to this problem.
All right. The chair's recommendation is an aye vote. I think there's been a motion and second already. Has there been a motion and second?
It was at the very beginning, but I don't know if that was...
There was at the beginning. That's right. That's right. I knew there was I knew I had heard something from this side of the room here.
Yeah.
There's a motion and second. Roll call vote. Sure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Did you say one or two?
Well, you know.
Okay. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Thanks so much. A couple issues with the bill. I've been in the insurance industry for 20 years now. I own an investment company, and this is actually what I've been doing for a long time. It's true long-term care is hugely expensive. It's because the costs of long-term care are hugely expensive. A couple thoughts about this bill. The first is that I personally don't see any way that state involvement can lower this cost to the benefit for residents of California. We now have a federal health insurance program that has promised to lower costs, and this might not actually turn out to be the case, although I guess the jury is still out on that. So that's the first thing. If the state starts moving in a direction of increasing its requirements on insurers or somehow affecting the market, we could see insurers leave the state, which would reduce our choice. And there's no guarantee that cost would necessarily go down. As a matter of fact, if there was a nominal payroll tax increase, as I believe has been mentioned in the bill, we could see actually an enhanced cost to all Californians. So that's the first point. So in substance, I don't think that I can be with the bill at this time, although I do agree that long-term health care insurance is expensive. I think actually the answer to decreasing costs in long-term health care insurance is to open up the marketplace, to allow more insurers to come to California, offer more sorts of innovative products, which actually would be the purview of the insurance commissioner. You know, he could unilaterally, very easily, take a look at what it takes to be a long-term care insurer in California and make those requirements such that more companies could participate and offer more sorts of innovative products that might fit various niches of the market better and reduce cost overall through competition. But there is a question of the author, which is, in this bill, I noticed there's going to be a task force, and one of the people on the task force is a labor union representative, but I don't see anybody from the insurance industry. Would you be open to an amendment to add somebody from the insurance industry?
I believe that, as the language stands right now, the language is not prohibitive of having somebody from the insurance industry be on the task force. If you go down to 29B, the task force shall be composed of key senior health policy and long-term care insurance stakeholders, and then it lists at least and specifically certain people. But this language does not in any way prohibit somebody from the private industry or an insurance company from being on that task force.
Okay. So you would be open potentially to looking at somebody from the insurance industry being on this?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much.
Great. Thank you. There's a motion and second on the bill. Chair's recommendation is aye. Roll call vote. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cooley.
Yeah, I just want to jump in on Beth's, Assemblymember Gaines's question. I think it does make sense to do a statute. Under California law, and this I go geek on you, a provision of the insurance code that goes back to 1877 establishes the insurance commissioner as a code administrator. So frankly, to put in the code that we're asking him to do something sort of sets the authority for this to be undertaken. We also state here that in addressing, I actually agree with Ian that any insurance stakeholders, which would include the industry, could be included. But to the extent that we are setting the insurance commissioner to pull people from other executive branch agencies who are subject matter experts, as this bill does, it is for that reason helpful to have it in the code. The fact is, I think a measure like this takes advantage of California as the biggest insurance market in the nation, the ability to put some resources into an extraordinarily complicated subject. It's not just, it's proposing alternative solutions and their flexibility, their feasibility. I think that the deep dive on this subject would be beneficial to the national conversation and befits California to kind of be the leader in this sort of thing. So I think it's a very reasonable thing to bring forward. I think it does make sense to be in the code to establish that the legislature is looking for this work to be done by the insurance commissioner and a report to be forthcoming and other agencies to participate. So I actually think it's well-founded as a proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley. Anything else, Mr. Calderon?
No, just as a close, you know, the point of the bill is to get people that are experts in this area to come together to find solutions to make long-term care insurance affordable. It's not. It is just not right now. And unless we as a state make it a priority, it's not going to get any better. And I think that the group of people that are up here sitting next to me, they're not just from specific one industry. They're from the gambit. And that is just indicative of what this task force is going to look like. And what can come from that is a great solution as to what we can expect in finding solutions for affordable long-term care. And I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines?
No.
Beth Gaines, no. Travis Allen? No. Travis Allen, no. Calderon?
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Cooley?
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper? Aye. Cooper, aye. DeBobne?
Aye.
DeBobne, aye. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto? Sorry. Gonzalez? Aye. Gonzalez, aye. Grove? No. Grove, no. Mays?
No.
Mays, no. Rodriguez? Aye. Rodriguez, aye.
9 affirmative votes, I think 4 no votes. The bill is out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Cooley has 2 bills to present. Now, these are the last 2 bills on our agenda. Mr. Cooley has AB 822 and then AB 1245. I thought no, that was on consent, wasn't it?
Not AJR. Mark, AJR 6 isn't on consent.
No. It's not. Sorry.
I'll make the motion to move it to consent. No?
Hey, I'm a rookie. Bear with me here. So, Mr. Cooley.
Yeah, very good. Mr. Chair, members, I will open on AB 1245, and I'll be brisk. I have to help a quorum in another committee in 4 minutes. This bill will just move California to electronic filings of unemployment taxes. This is a federal move. It doesn't require any specialized software. It has a 2-year implementation period. And if people do not have the capacity to do this on the internet, there's a cutout for them. And I have, there's unemployment taxes are paid by businesses. This will move it into an electronic environment to pay through the EDD website. It doesn't require any specialized software, and if a business cannot do that, it gives them a cutout, so they would not be subject to it. So it would not be designed to be burdensome. It will save money for the employment community and the state in the administration of this program, and it responds to a federal push to make these systems more efficient. And I think that would be a credit to California, the home of technology. I have with me Lori Kammerer and Scott Hauge from Small Business California.
Thank you. My name is Scott Hauge. I'm the president of Small Business California. I also own a small business. I'm here to ask for your aye vote on 1245. What 1245 will do is phase in by 2018 electronic filing by employees of data and taxes for unemployment insurance. As Assemblyman Cooley said, it's really important to understand the hardship or waiver provision, that if a business does not have the technology to do it, he or she will be waived from the requirement. The phase-in is 2017. Businesses with more than 10 employees will be required to do this. In 2018, all businesses, again, with the hardship provision. We think this is a real win-win for business as well as EDD. It's a win for business because we think it's more efficient, it's more accurate, and they'll get an immediate receipt when they make their filing. We think it's a win for EDD because, again, the accuracy factor, and it'll save about $8 million. We asked for your aye vote.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sure. If I can just add, Lori Kammerer, I'm also representing Small Business California. I'm also on the Sacramento Valley chapter of the National Association of Women Business Owners. They have not taken a position on the bill yet, but they will be supporting. I just don't have a letter with me today. We, too, support this bill. We think that as a lot of small businesses are on this, a representative of this committee as well, and as a small business owner myself, everything we do, whether it's customer service, whether it's online managing our things for our clients. We think that this is a very good bill. We think that the waiver also provides opportunity for a company to decide not to file electronically. Thank you. I ask for your support.
Yeah, my name is Greg Riggs with the Employment Development Department. We are obviously in support of this. I want to thank also the Assemblymember Cooley for authoring the bill, and we are greatly appreciative of Small Business California for being the sponsor. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Grove has a question, and then has there been a motion and second yet? Great. We have a motion and second. Ms. Grove has a question.
Thank you. So I think it's a good deal. I mean, we do all of our taxes electronically. I do that. But there are some businesses that are going to have to go through an education process because the way that the bank structure settles tax payments, say they get online at 4 o'clock in the afternoon to pay their EDD taxes, they'll be penalized that 20 or 15% penalty for being late. Because if you don't settle your tax payment online by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because of the bank requirements for settling dates, it won't post till the following day. So say you get online at 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon to pay your taxes, you think you're on time because that's the day you're supposed to. In a normal situation, in a snail mail situation, you would be able to go to the post office by midnight and have your envelope postmarked and it not be late, even though it didn't get to the state for 5 to 7 days or whatever the time frame is. So my concern is if some small business gets online at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because they're all excited, they're paying electronically, and then because of the bank settlement requirements, it does not settle until Wednesday, which would make it late on an electronic filing date. That imposes a 15% penalty on that total tax payment for this new business. So what's the solution to that? I know it's a repealable offense. I know you can go to the department. I know you can go to George Renner's office or your State Board of Equalization office. You can write a letter and appeal it, but it does take a significant amount of time to get it repealed, and there's still that penalty hanging over there. Plus an additional $20 for every employee that you paid during that quarter when you filed your DE6. So I have concerns about the penalty phase if they don't meet the deadline for the bank's filing, but do meet the deadline for a date stamp for it to be on time filed.
Yeah, I would expect, EDD can speak to this. I think it's got a 2-year implementation, so I would expect they will have teams in place to kind of oversee the transition, and things like that will probably pop up. They'll get odd fact patterns, and they'll figure out how it will be administered. I would expect you'll get FAQs and that sort of thing to inform people how to work. But I'll let you... hold on here, EDD, while they're conferring. Traditionally, I will just say in the commercial sector, long before we had the electronic systems, we had people playing the float and different sorts of things. And from a commercial standpoint, enterprises found ways to work within the rules, understand how the systems work, achieve compliance. I think that'll work here as well. I think the transition, but I do believe it will be incumbent upon EDD to work with the business sector as this gets implemented. And it makes sense that they would do so, because if you're not working with people, the system won't be utilized and we won't achieve the savings. So they have a strong incentive to make the system work. But I'll let you speak to that, if you would.
Yeah, just to answer it, we have about 35% of our businesses are doing that, and that has not been an issue so far. We have heard your concerns. We will make sure that that does not become an issue in the future. I'm not quite sure if the settlement period would actually trigger a penalty, but we'll definitely look at that, and we'll certainly make sure our tutorials and marketing material that we have fully apprises the business owners of any type of consequences for any late filings.
It was really important to Small Business California to get the date extended for just what you bring up. One of the things is we're very concerned about the marketing of this program to business, and to that extent we're in discussions with the small business development centers to help us outreach to the business community in California.
I appreciate that, and I appreciate, I'm not trying to be rude, and I apologize if it does, but I have zero confidence in EDD. They're completely underfunded. Employers in the state are paying additional food tax with the food tax reduction because you guys are completely underfunded. And some businesses are paying, up to $100,000 or more a year with a balloon payment at the end of the year because of that ridiculous issue. So I don't have a lot of confidence in your ability to make sure that these business owners get it, and I apologize for that. But my true concern is that I think it's great. I think that the online thing is easier. It's transactional. It does save a business employer money. It is more efficient. I think the state gets their money sooner than waiting on snail mail, which, that float issue isn't an issue. So I agree with that. My only concern that I really have is that if a new business that has never ever done this before, and I know we have 35%, but those are major businesses that already operate online anyways. If a new business, a mom and pop, a small business, or even a decent size, a large business that doesn't operate online like that, and they do exercise their right to a float, I have no idea. I just am concerned about the penalty per se of someone not knowing that they have to pay it by 3 o'clock or it's considered late, even though if they went to the post office, it'd be postmarked by midnight.
All right, roll call vote, please.
Daly?
Excuse me, Mr. Allen had a question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Use that mic. Use that mic, sir.
I would like you to. Thank you. A couple questions for the author. First of all, just like Assemblyman Grove mentioned, I think that online is a great idea. I looked in the analysis. Looks like our cost to process is about 1/8 online versus paper. This is great. This is the sort of efficiency that we should be looking for with the state.
But it should not be a trap for the unwary, and I think you've sent a message. That's very good.
Agreed. I guess there's some people that have the problem with the mandate that it's all done by 2017 or 2018, as the case may be. Yeah, I don't. Look, businesses do this all the time. They say, look, if you want to transact business with us, it's going to be online, and I have no problem with this. I think it's a great way to drive costs down. And I think most people have access to the internet, and if they don't, they can typically find someone that does. That doesn't really bother me, especially here in California. The one question that I have that relates to the cost to small business, has there been an estimate of what this would cost small business? And is there any sort of plan that you have to offset that cost, whether it's training or whatever else, to these small businesses to understand how the system is going to work, et cetera?
I would say, as the author, I don't know that there has been such a plan. I think that the expectation is that the administrative process to comply with this system will be less cumbersome than the existing system. So time, their time and effort will be less under this, so it will represent actually reduced costs.
I would add, if you're on a payroll service, there's no cost, because that's usually part of the payroll service.
Well, there would be a cost. It would be a cost of their payroll service they're currently
I'm
using.
saying if they're currently on a payroll service, most payroll companies, and I did check this out, do not make an additional charge to do these filings.
Okay, so what that means then is they incorporate that into their base costs of services. Understood. Okay, so as I understand, there may be a cost to training for small businesses to understand how to use the system. That would be the first question. And then the second question is, at the moment, there is no state plan to offset any of these costs other than some outreach to business. Is that correct?
That is correct. We did do a kind of a time study on how long it takes. The biggest hurdle is for businesses to go online and register and set up the account. So someone who is sufficient in computer and already a business, that is done in about 5 minutes. If you're a new business and you're not quite as tech savvy, it could take up to 60 minutes. So that's really the cost to the business, is to set up the account, that time factor to get the account set up.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, there may be some effort and enterprise that's required, but it'll actually be less. As people become familiar with this, it's less than dealing with the old system. Your information is in, it's recorded accurately. You don't have people mistranscribing the payment. There's less paper shuffling. So I think there is an aspect of simplicity which will constitute improvement. And it's hard to find value added in government enterprises. I'll say to Mr. Allen, he might feel that way, but this would be one of them.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
I'll just add that
Question I vote.
One last comment is that the error rate for filing electronically is quite a bit less than filing on paper, and that also is a big time saver for the state as well as a small business.
Mr. Cooley has summarized. He requests an aye vote. The chair's recommendation is aye vote. Roll call vote, please.
Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines? No. Beth Gaines, no. Travis Allen? Aye. Travis Allen, aye. Calderon? Aye. Calderon, aye. Cooley?
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper?
Aye.
Cooper, aye. DeBobne?
Aye.
DeBobne, aye. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto? Gatto, aye. Gonzalez? Grove? Grove, aye. Mays? Mays, aye. Rodriguez? Rodriguez, aye. 11 votes.
11 aye votes. The bill is on to the next step.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Cooley.
Thank you very much.
And Mr. Cooley will address the last item on our agenda, the AJR number 6. Mr. Cooley.
Colleagues, AJR number 6 is a measure dealing with the California Earthquake Authority, and really this measure asks for some federal help to make our system work better. What I can tell you, I drafted AJR 6 myself. If you want to know the history of how we got to the California Earthquake Authority, which only 12% of Californians purchase earthquake insurance through the CEA, this sort of gives you the history of how we got there. The basic problem with the CEA is that in order to reduce its deductible, which our constituents would like, or to reduce its premium, which they would also like, it needs to grow its corpus of funds, and there's a sort of internal problem on how you do that. This asks the federal government to help us with that issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the summary, Mr. Cooley. Any questions or comments on the proposal, Mr. DeBobna?
As someone that's worked for a congressman previously, coming to this position, and someone that actually is in the market for insurance right now for earthquake protection, is like many of my colleagues living in Southern California, especially the San Fernando Valley. Your work on here is much appreciated. I'm glad to be not only someone that supports it today, but like to be added as a co-author. This is really important. When you think about that, only 12% of California homeowners have earthquake insurance. Most of my constituents don't even realize that their traditional homeowners insurance does not cover earthquake damage. I really applaud you for your efforts. You've been a real leader on this, and I look forward to getting more help from the federal government to help cover some of the deficiencies we have in our system.
And I want to say the staff of this committee has been very helpful in the prior session working on this issue as well. So Paul and Mark, I thank you for your help.
All right. All right, Mr. Calderon.
Mr. Cooley, as somebody who is the son of someone that created the California Earthquake Authority, I would like to say that I want to be a co-author on this measure as well, and appreciate your attention to this matter.
Very good.
All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, we have a motion and a second. We'll do a roll call vote.
Daly?
Aye.
Daly, aye. Beth Gaines? Travis Allen?
Aye.
Travis Allen, aye. Calderon?
Aye.
Calderon, aye. Cooley?
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Cooper?
Aye.
Cooper, aye. DeBobne?
Aye.
DeBobne, aye. Frazier?
Aye.
Frazier, aye. Gatto?
Aye.
Gatto, aye. Gonzalez? Grove? Grove, aye. Mays?
Aye.
Mays, aye. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Rodriguez, aye.
Thank you, members. We'll now go to add-ons. Tracy will roll through here. She'll roll through the bills.
There are life stops. A lot of times they're moved from their area of expertise to the file room for 3 years. We've had employees sitting in rooms reading books for years because they were not allowed to work in their area because of a pending investigation. and this thing has been abused, and it's easily rectified by having their investigations completed within 1 year. Thank you.
Well, I had about 45 minutes of testimony, but I guess I'll just shut it down. John Lovell, California College and University Police Chiefs Association, in support.
Mr. Chair, members, Pat Moran with Aaron Reed and Associates, representing the California Association of Highway Patrolmen and the Cal Fire firefighters, in support of the bill.
Mr. Chairman, members, Ted Toppin with the Association of California State Supervisors. Strongly in support, could not agree more with the sponsor's comments. 3 years is a due process violation, and to have this hang over your head for 3 years and still be expected to function efficiently at work is ridiculous. We hope you'll support the bill.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in support? See none. Any witnesses in opposition? See none. Any questions from committee members? Assemblymember Jones Sawyer.
And you know what? Obviously I'm for this bill. I have a similar bill. Tried to get it through last time. Unfortunately, through the weird mercurial things that happened in appropriations, it did make it through. I hope that we don't have the same problem that we had last time. And I guess with the two of us working together, we should ensure that we get this to the governors to get that. Long overdue. Another year waiting to get this done is long overdue. And I think with all of us working together, we can ultimately help the state employees get their just due.
Absolutely. Any other comments from members? We have a motion and a second. I just want to thank Assemblymember Salas and Assemblymember Jones Sawyer for your willingness to work together. I support this bill. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Bonta.
Aye.
Bonta, aye. Waldron. Waldron, aye. Cooley. Cooley, aye. Jones Sawyer. Jones Sawyer, aye. O'Donnell. O'Donnell, aye. Rendon. Rendon, aye. Wagner. The bill is out.
Bill is out. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we have item number 3, AB 584, Assemblymember Cooley. Digging them out multiple pages.
Good morning, colleagues. Sorry I just joined you from my committee next door. I'm here today to present Assembly Bill 584. This is, Bill, honestly, I sort of bring forward one of my interests as we have the chance now to serve all of us in this room 10 or 12 years, is how we strengthen the capacity of the institution of which we are a part, to grow our capacity as a co-equal branch of government. AB 584 is a measure that I sort of went into the government code to an existing joint committee dealing with pensions and undertook to update it because in the 1980s, California had a joint committee related to the pension subject matter that was active, a joint Senate and Assembly committee that used the structure of getting outside resources. You know, pensions are a very unique institution. Unlike any other organization, they operate with a 30, 40-year time horizon. They deal with providing a form of benefit, which actually is very important as a counter-cyclical tool in the economy. When the economy tanks and people don't have money in their pocket, people covered by pension systems actually can continue to spend money on goods and services and help pull our economy out. So it's a very important function within the larger scheme of things. In the 1980s, our pension systems were very challenged, and the legislature organized a joint committee on public pension fund, drawing members from the two houses, from different committees, drawing in extraordinary outside talent that came in to kind of support a conversation about pensions and how they worked. And in this way, a little bit different than the typical policy committee, developed a broad understanding of how pensions operated, what's sort of the state of thinking on them, and it was very productive. 1982 to 1985, 19 measures came out of this joint committee process, and of course that just means These were 19 bills that then went through the standard standing committee process. A joint committee that examines a subject matter in depth does not displace our standing committee process under the House rules. So this is a bill which simply goes into that existing government code, sort of updates that statute in terms of what is the function of pensions, includes sort of this counter-cyclical explanation of how it works even in a downturn to support our economy, would establish a joint committee updated to our current committee structure in the Senate and the Assembly to engage in sort of an ongoing looking at issues related to pension sustainability. So that's sort of the nutshell. I'm an institutional guy. I asked to be on the Rules Committee. If you're on the Rules Committee, as my colleague here, Ms. Waldron, is, it sort of takes you out of chairing a standing committee. But joint committees provide a mechanism, a tool in the legislative toolkit that a Rules Committee member could even chair a joint committee. That sort of would be allowed under the rules. So it's a way for us just to strengthen our institution, let people contribute. So this bill, as I say, I think that there is merit to update the existing government code to contemporize the provisions dealing with the Joint Committee on Pensions to the current issues we are facing. It is never intended to displace the work of the Standing Committee on Pension in this House or another House. But it's definitely about saying, as we do our work over the next 10 or 12 years, this type of structure is something that has been used in the past productively, and as we grow as a co-equal branch of government, I think it's a great asset. And so, frankly, that's part of the rationale to actually put in a bill in print and promoting the conversation, because I see it as strengthening us in our work on a broad front. So I will stop right there and address any questions or concerns.
Is there anyone here in support of the bill? Seeing none, anyone here in opposition to the bill? Seeing none, any questions or comments from committee members?
Move the bill.
Fantastic. We have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
The motion is due pass to Rules Committee. Bonta?
Aye.
Bonta, aye. Waldron? Waldron, aye. Cooley?
Aye.
Cooley, aye. Jones Sawyer? Aye. Jones Sawyer, aye. O'Donnell? Aye. O'Donnell, aye. Rendon? Aye. Rendon, aye. Wagner?
Your bill is out. Congratulations, Assemblymember Cooley.
Thank you very much, colleagues. Thank you very much.
Seeing no further business before this committee, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you.